Is there anything, Reese, that you just wouldn't share with people?
Look, they're,
I'm
they're, they're
asking you to
probably.
share it now. No, just joking.
Hey,
Sorry, Reese. Go on.
look, it's more for me. It's more understanding how my personal mental health is going as well when I
Right.
do share.
Yep.
Like, for example, the last few weeks I've been very on and off with my mental health. I've been,
Mm,
hearing voices. I've been seeing visuals as
mm,
well. So,
mm,
on those days, I'm very mindful of, making sure that, hey, this probably isn't the time for you to be sharing,
mm,
and
mm.
but making sure that if the person feels that they need to have a conversation, that you're still there as well, and
Mm,
explaining to them might even be a really good benefit, like
mm.
not going into detail of
Yeah,
what you're going through, but
yeah.
saying, look, I'm also having, my own mental health issues and diagnosis at this time, and I still want to be here for you, and
Mm,
do what you can do, but be mindful not to overshare, and
mhm.
because it's not just your state of mind, but like we've already established, we don't want to make things worse for the person we're
Mm,
supporting as well.
mm, mm. And I think that's a fine thing to say to people, if you think it's going to be a short-term thing, so don't overshare, because people actually need to learn to moderate what they say to people outside of Flourish, so that their relationships can build.
Yeah.
Like there's a time and a place to say things. We all know that, but some of us know it better than others. And I'm certainly one that opens my mouth and speaks before I think very often. So helping people learn to do that too by sharing that part of your lived experience at that time is very useful too. Of course, if a staff member isn't well enough to hear and support the way the person needs to be heard and support over time, then we would need to, see if the person needs if the person needs another person to support them or something like that. So yeah, yeah. But I think, yeah, I remember I thought I would never tell anybody this because I used to, get scheduled or put on a CTO again, if I said it. But I remember the first time I said on stage to, like, I don't know, 1,000 people. So if you're going to say something, why not say it in a situation like that? But I said that I think about suicide every day. And I was kind of half expecting the sirens to go off and the uniforms to start coming around, or duress alarm to be pulled or whatever. Um, and I was really shocked at the number of people with lived experience that came up to me afterwards and said, like, many of them were in tears, which really distressed me, but it was tears of relief. And they said that they thought their life had to be really limited because they think about suicide every day. And they thought they couldn't work or they couldn't get further in their work or whatever because of that thought. And so I was really shocked. Wasn't aware that there were so many people that thought about it every day. Even like on my best days, it's still a thought there, for me. And that's a really, really common situation for people that have been through really extreme trauma. That's part of trauma. And knowing that, when I didn't see, I only found that out just before I revealed that to 1,000 people. I only found out that that was a really common part of when a person's experienced trauma.
Yep.
So sharing that, just there must have been at least 20 people that came up to me afterwards and said, I think that, and I thought I was never going to be able to do anything, and yet there you are working, blah blah, and you think about it every day, and you've got a partner, and you've had children, and like that kind of thing. So I think it's important to be prepared to open yourselves to that kind of thing, but also, as we've said today, always with the point is this going to be helpful? Is this going to be useful to other people? Yeah. But as I said before, I've never shared any details about plans or past things. So
I think it really demonstrates, like, you know, our sharing those different things and at different points in our lives. I think sometimes we can be, you know, I've had it said to me before, being like, you know, oh, but how did you get to the point that you were recovered? And I said, oh, that's interesting. Like, what do you mean by recovered? Like, you know, what sort of, I wanted to find out what that meant for them and be like, oh, well, you're working and doing things like means you must be better. I said, no, it's interesting. Like, I said, look, I still, you know, experience different things, you know, and explained about, I guess, you know, distress and things like that. And like, you know, it's about like the impact of what we go through, not exactly the details of what we go through, because the same thing can happen to multiple people and it's going to affect them in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
I said, I still have my really challenging days of work. I have sometimes have to have mental health days. And like Reese said before, you know, I've shared with some people being like, hey, you know, instead of them feeling like maybe it might be on them, the reason I may be a little bit more quiet than usual, I might share like, hey, look, I apologize if I'm a little bit quiet today. I'm here, I'm listening, I'm present, I'm here to support you. But apologies if I'm a bit quiet today. It was a bit of a rough night or something. And that's opened up a lot of conversations or a lot of, once again, that role modeling that we don't have to be perfect every day. We don't have to always be progressing. You know, the nature of, you know, mental health and mental distress is that, you know, sometimes things are a bit harder. And I think by expressing
and it's if you, you know, if you are a signatory to the recovery paradigm or the recovery conversations, recovery is never like that, is it? It's more like this. It's
like a roller coaster.
Yeah. It's all over for me, it's all over the shop. Like, well, where did that go? You know, so
you're living with stuff, you know, it's not a and that's where it really differs from, you know, say a lot of things that, you know, a lot of people's understanding of like physical health and things like that. Like some things you learn you build up skills and practices to be able to manage and deal with certain things. You know, I still have OCD. I still think about certain things all the time, but things that would like negatively impact my life all the time and get in the way of certain things are now passively able to be pushed to the side, you know, because I've built up skills and practice in it, and it takes time. So, you know, being able to share that, I think, is really powerful, because it also doesn't create a damaging power dynamic as well, being like, oh, I'm better, you're not, because that's not what it is. We're all people, we're just at different stages.
Right.
Absolutely. I remember I got when I was working in the public system, I got a phone call from a psychiatrist one day, and he said to me, like, he wasn't my psychiatrist, he was working in the public system, and he said to me, Faye, do you ever have bad days? And I said, absolutely. Bad weeks, bad months, bad years, you know. And he said, do you ever feel like you're useless or hopeless, or you're no good for anything? And I thought, well, thanks, you just ran me into the ground here, but yes, okay, yeah, I do. Thanks for reminding me of it, though, you know. And he's asked me another question that was, you know, along those negative kind of lines. And I said, why are you asking me these questions? And he said, I've got a woman in my rooms with me at the moment, and she's suicidal because she can't be as well as you. And I said, oh my God, I put her on, So in that, he put her on, and I told her my worst days, you know. So I told her things that I wouldn't normally tell people, but she was in such a bad way because she thought, you know, she put me up on this pedestal, and she thought she couldn't get like that. So I had to show her that, You know, I'm absolutely not to be put up on that pedestal. I'm this and I'm that. You know, I can't think, I can't remember things, I can't organize things. I get, you know, and told her all the worst parts of me. I needed to debrief afterwards, but you know, it wasn't. That was a really unique situation, I think, you know, and I think that goes to what you were saying before, Deb, that it really depends on what the situation is. But normally, in a peer relationship, or in a support relationship, or with a colleague, when I'm trying to explain something, I wouldn't go to all that really negative stuff, you know. But sometimes, rarely, but sometimes, even that can be helpful.
I've shared also another reason why I've shared more deeply, or you know, a few more experience, or again, not graphic details with someone, is to maintain that connection during that conversation as well. And yeah, continue that connection. Yeah,
that, so you're not alone sort of connection. Yeah.
I think it also comes down to, you know, I think about a lot of these things, and, you know, being in say like a more senior or supervisor or managerial position, that happens a lot as well. And I think sometimes that dynamic can get built with people and staff that we're supporting as well. They think that you're at a certain, I guess, at a certain stage in your ability to be able to manage certain things. And you know, so I'm just really, I reflect on when I was doing the TC role, and you know, had a number of peer workers that were reporting to me, and being able to share that there were still skills that I was constantly building on, and you know, really bringing that peer aspect, even though I was in a more senior role. It's like, this doesn't leave you, and the same as like our lived experience doesn't leave us. We need to constantly be building up on our skills and finding other ways. So I think it's interesting that it really held so much ground, like even as you move through the organization into different positions, that peer lens that you look through still holds so much into being able to do our jobs like the most effectively.
Absolutely. I was just reflecting before about that what all three of you have been sharing in just this recent conversation about you know, taking responsibility and accountability, and telling and sharing that with your colleagues as well as the people we support, but with your team as well, as saying, you know, I'm a bit rocky today, you know, I'm not, because that's part of sharing your lived experience too, and part of the peer work role is to be able to do that in a professional way. And you know, recently here at the Peer Operated Service, we've started to rapidly expand from 5 or 6 staff to nearly 15. And then being TC, like you're saying, Chris, it doesn't matter how you progress, and if you're on the floor or you know, both, that lived experience lens doesn't leave us. So some new staff that have just come on board here at the Peer Operated Service, you know, I've had them say, oh, you know, you're so confident, you got it all together, and you've got this and you've got that. And I need to sometimes say, let's have a chat. And I won't say, well, you know, this and that, but I'll say, you know, I just need to share with you that 2 or 3 times a week, I go out onto the back here and we overlook a lake, and I think, I don't know if I can do this. And it's not specifically about the role, or it's just about my life and my role, and supporting a team and balancing, you know what I mean? So, and some mornings, I live with anxiety every day. It's just at different levels. I don't know what it's like. So I've got to sometimes, share a bit more with the team about that as well.
Yeah, let's make another video about the imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
in a big way.
All these videos.
We know that one well, don't we?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.